Doctor Who Listen, the 4th episode of Series 8, is written by Stephen Moffat and starring Peter Capaldi and Jenna Coleman. Yes, you listen to me. In developing this episode, Stephen Moffat said his impulse starting in, that was just the idea. What does he do when he's got nothing to do? Because he'd throw himself off a building if he thought I'd be interesting. On the way down, he's fascinated by anything, and here he's with nothing to do, so he just goes out poking things with a stick until something bites it. And I think that's quite an interesting sort of. There's a thrill-seeker aspect. Stephen also said this episode originated with the decision, and he's going to do a chamber piece with no money in the middle of the 8th series, because he hasn't done one in ages, and he'd like to prove that he can definitely write. They filmed this episode in Porthcawl Mimosa restaurant in Mermaid Quay, Cardiff Bay, Bute Park and Whitechurch, Cardiff. As for the leak of this episode, got released with a missing automated dialogue replacement and visual effects. So we get a brilliant opening where the Doctor is sitting on the TARDIS in space saying listen, which I remember seeing now in the teaser, and he makes a speech about why people talk out loud when they are alone. The chalkboard where the words listen gives me the chills. Peter Capaldi is absolutely fantastic as always. Clara has a date tonight with Danny Pink. They have an argument, so Clara went home, and the Doctor and the TARDIS are in her flat. So the Doctor got Clara to put her hands in the machine as she communicating with the TARDIS, which is a brilliant concept. As they arrived in West Country Children's Home in Gloucestershire, the Doctor said they'd meet the young Clara, but Clara has never been there before. So while the Doctor talks to the manager on night shift about talking to himself, Clara meets Rupert Pink, who's scared and had nightmares, who apparently is young Danny Pink, which is cool. The bit where someone is under the blanket is terrifying, and I love the bit where the Doctor is having problem finding Wally in the book. As they stare out the window, you hate to see whoever's under the blanket. You'd hate to know what it looks like, which makes it so terrifying. After it's scared off, Clara showed Rupert the toy soldiers and Colonel, which got Rupert calling him Dan, so the Doctor got Rupert to sleep as they left. Clara arrived back at the restaurant where Danny Pink is, so she went to see him, telling him about herself. It worked out okay until she said Rupert Pink, which upset Danny because he never told anyone that name, so he left. So then a mysterious person in a spacesuit called for Clara and brought her in the TARDIS, who looked exactly like Danny, but he's called Orson Pink. Awesome name. He must be pretty awesome. He's a great character as well. He's possibly Danny and Clara's descendant, who would probably wiped out from existence after Danny dies at the end of Series 8. As they arrived on the space station at the end of the universe, there was no sound. The knocking on the door is pretty terrifying. Kinda reminds me of Midnight with the knocking. The Doctor ordered Clara and Orson back in the TARDIS. Clara sees a window which lifted the Doctor, but he's unconscious. Clara arrived in the barn on Gallifrey. When the Doctor was a child, he can hear a couple saying the Doctor doesn't like the army. He won't be welcomed in the academy either, and that he will never make a Time Lord. Mind-blowing. And I think that's the first Doctor. This one is played by Michael Jones. His acting is spot on. Douglas McKinnon, the director of this episode, has found a photo of William Hartnell when he's a child, so the hair team made Michael look exactly like him, which is nice and pretty cool. Clara does her speech as she comforts the Doctor, so she went back in the TARDIS, getting the Doctor to leave without him knowing what happened. As Orson is back home, Clara and Danny said sorry to each other. Clara's speech is that she knows that he is afraid and that fear is a superpower. Fear makes a person faster, more clever and more stronger. One day he's going to return to his barn and he will be very afraid, but it will be okay because if he is wise and strong, fear does not have to make him cruel or cowardly, but it will make him kind instead. It makes no difference what is under the bed or in the dark, as long as he knows that it is okay to be afraid of it. If he listens to nothing else, just listen when she says that while he is always going to be afraid, even if he learns how to hide it, fear is like a constant companion, but that's okay because fear can bring us together. Fear can bring him home. She's going to leave him something just so he'll always remember. Fear makes companions of them all. Which is what the Doctor said to Barbara in An Earthly Child Part 3, which is cool explanation, how he got that line from. She mentions about going back to the barn with the flashback of the War Doctor, John Hurt, as he's afraid. This is a great episode. I get shivers down my spine. What did you think of Listen? Hope you have listened. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.